job interview can feel like you're in the hot seat. No one's to be caught unprepared, and mistakes can cost you that job. Holly Wilbanks from Wilbanks Consulting Group is back with some critical advice for job seekers. And this really is that moment when you get in the chair and you finally gotten that face-to-face and it's on.
It's on.
Yeah.
The interview is what gets you the job. A lot of people spend a lot of time focusing on the resume, and they stress over the resume and they spend hours on it, and then they get the interview and they barely think about it. They just fly in, sit down, and hope it magically turns out okay. But the interview is really crucial because that's what gets you the job.
I mean, the resume is really just your foot in the door.
It's your foot in the door.
And
it's in some ways your calling card. It gives a quick synopsis, but they unpack all of that as part of the interview. And the interview is the opportunity for them to really figure out, who are you?
And let's talk about where the job market is right now. Applicants and people sitting down for these interviews, they really need to be more competitive than ever.
They do. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, they reported numbers January through May, the highest uptick since 1939, 1.57 million jobs. And what that means is there are a lot of jobs out there, but it's the higher paying jobs where we're seeing a lot of the competition, and who doesn't want a higher paying job?
Right.
So in order to get those jobs that you're most interested in, you need to make sure that your interview skills are up to par.
So I think all of us know that there's that one question that's gonna come in an interview, whether we like it or not. Tell me a little bit about yourself. And how are you supposed to answer this? Do you want a life story? Do you want just the little tidbits that matter to the job in particular? How do we answer that?
It is the most common interview question. It's also the interview question that people tend to mess up the most.
Really?
A lot of people will give their life story. I once had a candidate give me a 13-minute long answer, and I finally stopped him because it was only a 30-minute interview. So what we recommend to people is try to keep it to 2 minutes, ideally less than 5 minutes, and tell a little bit about yourself personally, but also tell about yourself professionally. And when I say personally, I don't mean you live in the suburbs, you have a cat and dog. What I mean is your passion for what you do.
Okay.
Talk about that, and then of course, a little bit about your experience as it relates to the job. One of the biggest mistakes people make is talking about everything they've ever done. Half of that doesn't relate to the job.
Right.
Focus on what relates to the job.
Okay, sounds good. So very short answer, 2 to 5 minutes for that
Yes.
first one.
Yeah.
And you mentioned values too in this, and why is that so important? Like,
So-
if I would say family is it is the most important thing to me.
Exactly, and when you're talking about your passion for what you do, your personal values definitely plays into that. And so you want to highlight your personal values that align with the role. So for instance, you might be interviewing for like a hospice nurse position, right? You might have gone into hospice nursing because you helped a grandparent or an aunt go through end-of-life care
Right.
for cancer, right? In which case you would bring that up and you would talk about your personal values being, I personally believe that people at the end of their life should be cared for in a very loving and direct way. And I believe that is what you want people to do in this job. Make that connections between your personal values and the job.
Really good tip. And I think another common question that we all kind of expect is, tell me why you want this job. Do not answer, well, I needed to pay my bills, right?
Do not say you needed
I'd
to pay your
rather
bills.
be at home.
Everybody needs a job to pay their bills, all right? That's kind of a given. Instead, focus on what about the job description or what about what you've been discussing during the interview personally appeals to you.
Yeah.
And this may align with your personal values. It may align with the experiences that you've had previously that help you qualify for this role. But you should talk about the very specific things that appeal to you. For instance, going back to the hospice nurse situation, I like that this role is in a community rather than a hospital setting. That's something that I've been wanting to do with my career, and this would give me the opportunity to do that.
So let's talk about, for people who say, you know, I really just need a job. Like, they're just looking for a job because they need this job to take care of their family or whatever the situation. They may not feel passionately driven to this particular position.
Yes.
How do you, I don't know, I don't want to say flub, but like, how do you get through that interview so you have those passions and you have that drive to get the job.
If you don't have a lot of passion for what you're doing, that's okay. Not everybody has necessarily found a career calling yet.
Right.
Instead, you can focus on the very practical reasons why that job seems like a good fit to you. Look, I've done this type of work before. Your location is close to my home. The hours are good for our family. I know that we can work our child care around this, and I know that I can come in and do this job and do it well. So it doesn't always have to be like I'm super passionate.
Right.
It can be very practical as to why you're a good fit for it.
Perfect. Holly, this is so great. I love this conversation because I think a lot of people, like we talked about before with the resumes, you get to that point, you're not necessarily prepared for that next step.
Absolutely.
So this is some good stuff. And if you are interested in getting help with your job search and interview, we have more information about Wilbanks Consulting Group on our website. Just head to kdka.com/talkpittsburgh. Still to come on the show, more couples are looking elsewhere for their weddings, wanting to get away from home and explore new places, how destination weddings impact planning for your special day.